So are you looking for a remote job but you don't have any prior experience? Don't worry, because in this video I'm going to tell you guys about 11 different remote jobs that you can get without any prior work experience. So make sure you stay tuned. Now I know you're probably thinking that you do absolutely need some experience, but you really don't need experience in the jobs that I'm going to tell you about today. Trust me, there are plenty of opportunities out there for people that are willing to grow and learn on the spot. And make sure you stay to the end for a bonus tip that will significantly increase your chances of landing a job. So before we get into the steps, I wanted to tell you guys my personal story about how I got my remote job, which is in the field of digital marketing. It's been great. I work completely remote, completely from home, so I'm able to travel and also work from wherever I go, as long as I'm clocking into my regular, normal work hours, Eastern Standard Time. So it's been great. Some of the benefits of being able to work from home, and don't mind me, I'm just gonna look at some of my notes that I have written down here. You can save time on commuting. One of the things that I hated when I was working in an office is that I had to drive, and I was working in Conshohocken, PA at the time, and I had to drive 45 minutes from Jersey to Conshohocken, and it was like the worst drive ever, because it was anywhere from 45 minutes on the minimum to an hour and 15 minutes, maximum with traffic typically. And it was just like, when you calculate the amount of hours that you're spending when you're driving to and from your office, it's just like there's so many things that you can be doing in replace of that time period, whether it's sleeping, whether it's eating, whether it's just relaxing, whether it's learning something in the meantime. And I will say, I did try to take advantage of those commutes by listening to podcasts and things like that. So I did try to maximize the time that I had. But guys, being able to save time in your commute, oh my goodness, it is amazing. Just to wake up, I mean, I don't literally roll out of bed into work, but I have a bit of a morning routine, and if I could spend that extra time even working out, that is just phenomenal to me. So I really recommend trying to get a work from home job if you guys can, which is why I'm making this video today, because I think they're amazing. My position in particular, I mean, I'm just really happy how flexible it is to be able to just be at home. That's huge for me. And of course, let's not even talk about saving on money for gas. We know that gas prices have been really high in the past, and they came back down recently, but they're actually planning to go back up. So it's just crazy how much money you can actually save by just working at home. And I think honestly, working at home gives you a better work-life balance, because I mean, it's definitely less stress when you're driving through all that traffic. Nobody likes traffic. But in general, if you have more time to spend with yourself or your family, I mean, that's gonna add to anybody's life quality or quality of life. Now keep in mind, when I tell you guys about how you don't need, professional work experience to get any of these jobs, what I really mean is that you don't need experience with a former company in order to start with a company. So you will need experience, but it's experience that you can actually build up yourself by creating kind of your own portfolio in different ways. And of course, you'll need some general knowledge on your particular field or your particular position in order to get that position. So the first remote job is data entry. Now, what is data entry? Data entry is basically when people are entering data on a computer. Very simple, very, basic skill that anybody can acquire if you don't already know how to do. I mean, literally, it can be as simple as your employer giving you spreadsheets and you entering it into a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet, from a physical to the computer. It could be something as simple as that, or it could be transferring data from one program to another program. So that is a super, super basic skill that it really doesn't take time to gain if you don't already have it. I'm sure anybody who has a computer or has used a computer probably has some type of data entry skill. So I would really recommend, this is a job that pretty much anybody could get, especially if you're just looking for something simple to just step into for the meantime, before you get into something else. But this data entry, I mean, you get into these data entry jobs and you pretty much get trained from the ground up. And you just need pretty much general knowledge, as I said before, and you're pretty much good to go, honestly. So as long as you have basic skills, you're able to type at a reasonable speed, probably, because you'll probably have a lot of data to enter. Reading skills. So basically, if you're able to type, read, navigate through pages, probably understand a few programs that you'll learn along the way, I think you'll be just fine. Now, some of the benefits of working as a data entry specialist is pretty much being able to work on your own schedule. Depends if you're working for a company or you're working independently, but typically you will be able to have some flexible work hours. You may not have to get the work done right away. As soon as your employer or your boss or whoever you're working with gives you the work, you might be able to, you know, do it at night. Maybe you're working in the middle of the night. It really depends on you and what you're looking to do. So some positions don't require specific work hours, but some do. So just keep that in mind. But let's get into the salary. The average salary for a data entry position in the Philly, New Jersey area, because that's where I am, is about from 31 to 48,000 a year. So I would say that's a good entry-level position. I mean, it's not the best, but it's not the worst. And obviously all these positions, guys, take into consideration that depending on where you want to go with these positions, you can excel and get a higher salary. So I mean, I would expect everybody to be aiming for a higher salary after some point. You don't want to stay in the same position forever. But these are good entry-level remote jobs that you can get from home. So on to the next one. Number 2, customer service representative. Now, a lot of people have had customer service experience in the past. I mean, if you've worked even from high school, if you've worked in retail or any store that you have to deal with customers, you probably do have some customer service experience. But now we're talking about customer service strictly over the phone. It's really not that much different. All you have to do is, as typically, interact with customers, you know, handle complaints, process orders, provide information about the organization's products, things along that nature. Nothing super demanding, or I should say nothing super advanced that you have to know. I mean, I think it's just people skills, right? So if you could get a work from home job just using your people skills, I would say it's a pretty good bet. So some of the pros of this job is that it's very easy to get an entry-level position. You can develop your communication skills. You're obviously provided like on-the-job training for the most part. We know this is a really simple job to get because I mean, even people outside of the US are getting customer service jobs. I can't tell you how many times I call my phone provider and I'm talking to somebody from India, from, you know, Pakistan, from the Philippines. Now, some of the cons of this job, because I want to give you guys the real, from what I've researched and just general experience, is that, you know, you can experience burnout because we don't all like talking to people all day and night. Customer service, you're typically dealing with people who are agitated or irritated, and that kind of transfers to you. You have to kind of make sure to not take on that agitation, but that's kind of what happens. And another con is that you could work in an irregular schedule. It really just depends. It depends what company, the type of company that you're working for. And the salary for this type of job ranges from anywhere from 28,000 to 47,000, and that is in Jersey, so it could vary depending on your area. Now, the third work from home job that plenty of people have been talking about for the last couple years is a social media manager. Now, this job is a very popular job to get because businesses know how essential it is to have social media, so they are looking for people to manage it because a lot of business owners do not have the time to manage it themselves. They don't have the time to post pictures. They don't have the time to look at competitive analysis. They don't have the time to, you know, necessarily comment or, you know, respond to everybody's comments. So they need people, they need help. Now, social media managers are typically in charge of planning, creating, and publishing content that will build the brand and generate more customers for an organization. Very simple. It's basically building the brand, building brand awareness, and trying to get as many customers as possible using social media. You know, like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, all of those. So some of the pros is that you can actually express your content creativity. Now, there's a lot of people that feel like they're very creative, and being a social media manager is one of the ways you kind of can create or express that creativity. That's kind of what I got from it when I was doing it. I was doing it like a while ago for other people, and then I was doing it mainly for myself, which I liked a lot better. And I did feel very creative in the, you know, content creation process. Now, you do also get paid basically to spend time on your favorite platforms. So if you enjoy social media, which I hope you would enjoy social media before you get into something like this, you're able to pretty much spend time on there and, you know, scroll as much as you need to be able to find the information that you're looking for, or to be able to complete the task from your employer or, you know, whoever you're working with. Now, it is always changing, and that can be looked at as a pro or a con, but if you're able to keep up with the changes, then obviously you put yourself in a good position as well as the company that you're working for. Now, some of the cons is that it can be a little stressful, and it's, again, constantly changing, but also you are consuming a lot of content. And for me, I feel like social media, if you consume too much, like, you get the negative end of the stick, kind of. Like, there's a point when you're like consuming social media where you realize like you have to stop, right? So if this is your job, that's something that you want to take into consideration. You just have to understand that mental barrier or like a boundary. So you probably, after work, you're probably not consuming social media as much as you would normally because you're on it all day for your job. So that's kind of a con. But anyway, salary ranges are around $50,000 in the US to start, which is a good starting point until you're able to kind of level up to higher positions and higher pay. So, and of course, like any job or any contract, it depends on the person, the business, or the, you know, whether the company is a private company, a public company. Plenty of different ways to be a social media manager. So make sure you look into that. Now, the next remote job is called a YouTube channel manager or a podcast manager. Now, I put these together in the same category because they are very similar. They have different skill sets, obviously, but they are pretty similar when it comes to just being a manager for a YouTube channel or podcast. So obviously for YouTube managers, you're managing a company's YouTube channel specifically, probably managing all their posts, scheduling their posts, again, doing competitive analysis, creating thumbnails, editing videos. You may not be doing all of that, but you will be managing that. So you might have a team of subcontractors that you're working with. Same thing with podcasting. You might be managing all, you know, the audio edits, maybe the partnerships. So I think they're pretty cool because, like I said, they're both up and coming and you could kind of get in on the ground floor now that like so many big podcasts and YouTube channels are looking for help managing their channels, because that's one of the things that happens when you grow a business. Like, part of your business will be so big that you have to hire help, and a lot of these people don't necessarily have good quality help when it comes to this. So that could be you. That could be where you kind of fill in for the market. Now, some of the pros are, like I said, it's an up and coming career. You can learn skills that you can eventually transfer to your own, like if you want to do your own thing, if you want to build your own YouTube channel or podcast channel, you're pretty much on the cutting edge of technology. Some of the cons though is that there's no standard salary right now because it is up and coming, but it seems like it might be around that same $50,000 salary type of mark, kind of, but it really depends. And you might actually start off freelancing before you go full time. So if you are familiar with the ability to manage a YouTube channel or a podcast and you start to kind of build up your clientele, you might start to actually just land a job for an entrepreneur or for a business, like a full-time job, doing it that way. Because as of right now, I haven't seen too many like open positions that are saying like they're looking for a YouTube channel manager or a podcast channel manager. I would actually say I've seen more podcast positions, but they are out there. They're definitely out there. So yeah, like I said, I found that the average YouTube channel manager might be making around $50,000 and the podcast manager might be making around $57,000 to $63,000 US. And the salaries do range as high for a podcast manager. The salaries range as high as $130,000 in California for a podcast manager. So these career fields do have the potential to pay a lot. So look into them. Now, number 5 is digital marketer. This is exactly what I am. This is exactly what I do for my day job. I'm a PPC specialist, which is a pay-per-click specialist, meaning I pretty much just manage all the advertisements for different companies because I work for an agency. And we work with a lot of companies. So some of the pros is that it is a high paying potential job, especially as a freelancer, because I do know some people who are like just doing ads for people, managing ads for people, also called like an ads manager. You know, you could be making $5,000-$10,000 a month doing that freelancing if you're, you know, doing it right. Another pro is that the industry is constantly evolving, just like anything online or technology related. So it's kind of recession proof because businesses will never not need marketing, especially online marketing, because that's where most of the eyeballs are. So if we ever do have a shutdown again, hopefully not, but if we ever do, again, digital marketing is going to blow things out of the water because now businesses are going to invest even more money than they already are to get more eyeballs on their businesses online. But as of right now, businesses are investing hundreds, thousands, and millions of dollars into paid advertising. So marketing is definitely a great field, and even if it's not paid advertising, let's say it's SEO, search engine optimization, businesses are investing a lot in that too. So this is a great career field to me. So basically it is high in demand, so that's a really good pro. Some of the cons though, companies do depend heavily on their digital marketing teams in order to scale their businesses because digital marketing does have the power to do that. So it can lead to some pressure and you don't always have full control of these platforms, especially Google. Like I work with a lot of companies that run Google ads mainly, and Google changes a whole lot. So we don't always have control when they do make a change. Usually it's like we're running ads and then they'll make a change and then we'll make an adjustment. Sometimes that change that the Google, you know, algorithm or Google itself makes doesn't necessarily affect our ads. So it's kind of give and take. But Average salary for this field, entry level, is $50,000 to $60,000 in the US. So again, a good entry level point, and you do have the ability to make a lot more as time goes on once you become like in the manager roles, and you're usually able to get into a manager position maybe like 3 to 4 years into it. So I think it's a really good field. So the next remote job is transcription services. Now transcribers convert recorded or live human speech into text. Some of the pros is that you're able to set your own hours, and you can work as little or as much as you want to, and you can pick and choose your own projects that you want to work on, and it doesn't require any complicated skills. So you know, if you have the ability to listen to an audio and literally type out whatever the person is saying, you're pretty much good. Like, you can get a good position, especially freelancing. I think this is more of like a freelance type of job. You can get jobs that are like in-house for a company, but there is a lot of technology that is kind of taking this skill over. Technology still needs humans. Like, if we were able to just rely strictly on technology, then a lot of us would be out of jobs, but that's not the case. We use technology to enhance our skills and enhance the content that we're putting out. So even though there's a lot of transcription services that are able to, you know, transcribe all of, you know, your audio pretty good, you still need, and companies still need, people to go in there and make the necessary changes that, you know, show that, you know, this is correct, because it's not 100% accurate. So technology helps us pretty much get to that, you know, 100% as much as possible, and it is very helpful, but technology still needs the brain of a human to facilitate it to, you know, I guess, act as accurately as possible. So with that being said, if you're concerned about AI with this job in particular, I would just say learn AI so you can use it to level up your skills. And salary for this type of job, it really depends, because I do think a lot of people kind of freelance with this job, but it does look like something for like a medical transcriptionist looks like it's around 50,000. So again, salaries vary, but it is a position that you can get without any prior experience. Now the next job is becoming a virtual assistant. Now there's a lot of things you can do being a virtual assistant, and it's basically someone who specializes in administrative tasks, typically tasks that might include like scheduling phone calls, booking trips, scheduling appointments, you know, making any travel arrangements, email, managing, you know, your clients or your employer's email. So you can do a lot as a virtual assistant. And for this one, we're talking more so about like an administrative assistant. There are a bunch of different types of virtual assistants, but let's just focus on, you know, doing like administrative tasks. So again, this is another one that's more so like freelancing, more so than like getting an actual job. You can get a job as a virtual assistant, probably more so like an executive assistant if you're going to work in-house, but this is another opportunity that gives you the chance to, you know, get a remote job with any prior experience. So you can pretty much set your own rates. That's the good thing about freelancing. You get to choose your own clients, and the costs to get started with this are very minimal. So you can start pretty much making money right away. I mean, it's not that hard to literally agree to be somebody's virtual assistant and book a flight for them and take some of their calls or help them, you know, manage their calls and everything like that. So some of the cons though are that, you know, sometimes it can be like boring or mundane tasks that may not necessarily interest you. It's not supposed to be the most interesting job in the world, but it is something that can make you money and get you by. And another con is that if you are freelancing, you do have to find your own clients. Obviously that just comes with the territory. I will tell you guys, when I used to run a real estate business in the past with my brother, we actually had our own virtual assistant, and so that was my first experience actually hiring somebody, which was really cool. And she was able to do a lot for us, honestly. But now looking back on it, I've had virtual assistants in different capacities. Like I've had a video editor, I've had a thumbnail person in the past. So these are all, you know, they were paying them for a specific service, but they are kind of an assistant to your business. So if you want to be somebody that can assist in different ways, there are a bunch of different fields that you could get into. It doesn't have to just be administrative work. So salary for this position ranges anywhere from 38 to 41,000. Now the next remote job that you can get without any prior experience is becoming an online tutor / teacher. The thing about this is that, number one, I love teaching. Funny story, I actually wanted to be a teacher back in college for like a semester, and then that went away. Once I saw teacher salaries, like in-person teacher salaries, oh my gosh, teachers don't get paid enough. But that's a whole nother story. If you're teaching online or tutoring online, this is a really great opportunity for you to generate income for yourself, because You can work from the comfort of your home. That's the whole point of this video. But also, like, you get to teach so many different people at a time. You can teach individually or you can teach group classes. And there's so many different software out there that help you put yourself out there, that, you know, students are literally going to these platforms looking for help. So you don't really have to do much marketing on yourself to really, you know, get clients, which is what I really love about certain platforms. Not gonna name these platforms, I don't know all of them, I know a few, but I'm not sponsored by them. So you can basically help, you know, students with like note-taking strategies, you know, test preparations, homework assistance. It could be in like math, science, English, whatever you want to do. I mean, especially English. If you enjoy teaching English, you can hop on like any, like, even international platform that people are looking to learn English. So that's another opportunity there. I will give you guys one platform that I've heard about, but I've never tried myself. It's called Preply. Make sure you guys, if you guys want to check that out. If they want to sponsor me, they should reach out to me. But some of the pros, as I told you guys, is that you can teach more than one people at a time. So you can reach a lot of people if you want to teach groups or if you want to teach individually. And again, there's no formal education needed. As long as you know how to get students results, then you should be able to hop in these platforms. You don't necessarily need like a teaching degree to do this. You just need to be able to show that you are confident or competent and able to help students get the results that they're looking for. Another pro is that you can meet students from around the world, which is pretty cool. Now, some of the cons is that the time zones might be a challenge, but obviously you figure out what works for you and what doesn't. And you don't get the benefits of like regular teachers. You know, some teachers get tenured and, you know, you get certain benefits of a full-time teacher if you're working like in an actual classroom. But again, this job, teaching online, offers the flexibility of not having to be forced to be in the classroom, which I think is a bigger benefit than it is a con. And the average salary for this position that I found was about $43,000. Now, the next remote job that I want to tell you guys is about being a remote closer or a remote salesperson. Now, I think this is pretty interesting because obviously in the past, if you were doing sales, most of the time you were in an office environment. But this time, like, there's a lot of like big entrepreneurs and a lot of like big companies that are looking to hire virtual closers and virtual salespeople to close these deals for them without being in office, which is pretty cool. So obviously this is one of those careers where your pay depends on your performance. So obviously you have to close deals in most cases, I would assume, in order to get paid. That's a typical sales job salary structure, is that you get paid off of commission. Maybe these jobs offer something different because I'm not in that field per se, but I know that it is a good income source for some people. Now, obviously it's flexible being at home. Now, some of the cons is that just like any sales job, it's probably a little stressful because you do want to make sure that you're actually closing deals and getting paid. And it might be a little bit more time consuming than expected because, again, usually when you're dealing with sales, you're kind of willing to spend more time with clients to get that sale. So it really just depends. But base salary for this is what I found to be around $37,000 to $50,000 base salary. And commissions obviously can put you over the six-figure mark, which is what people really, you know, aim for when they are in a sales job. Next job on the list is a bookkeeper. Now, this is a pretty popular job that has been, I guess, gaining popularity over the last few years. People are actually starting and growing successful bookkeeping businesses. But if you just want to gain a job as a bookkeeper, I think this is a fantastic route to go down. Pretty much a bookkeeper helps businesses stay organized and keep their finances in order. Now, a lot of people don't know the difference between a bookkeeper and an accountant, and I didn't either prior to pretty much this video. But funny enough, my father is an accountant. He has always done my taxes for me. So he's a certified public accountant. And bookkeepers are basically like that higher level, not higher than an accountant per se, but as in like a higher, they see the higher level view of a business's expenses, and they keep that in order before it gets to the accountant to now actually work out the taxes and stuff like that. Taxes are definitely not something that I'm a fan of, but they are very necessary in any and every business. So this is a very in-demand career and in-demand job because you're always going to need help with taxes. Even again with software like QuickBooks and all these other different softwares, you still need people to manage that. So the job growth in this field or in this position in particular is very high. And you can pretty much, if you want, a pro is that you're able to advance into accounting if you do want to get that higher salary, because accountants do get paid more than bookkeepers. And the only skill that you really need is that you are organized. That's the main responsibility of a bookkeeper, is to be organized. So if you can be organized, then you can work this job. Now, some of the cons is that typically during tax season, a bookkeeper will work a little bit longer. Same thing with a tax accountant. So you pretty much have to be aware, like during tax season, you might be working a little bit more more than you normally would. And of course, if you are working with taxes and stuff, there are pretty strict deadlines. So I mean, just like any other job, you just gotta be mindful of when you have to get things done. And dealing with taxes and the IRS, there are some pretty strict deadlines, so it could be a little bit stressful. But I mean, just like any other job, you gotta have, there are deadlines that you have to work with, so that could be a con. But as long as you're organized, then you'll know your deadlines and you'll be just fine. And salary ranges for a bookkeeper ranges from anywhere from $34,000 to $52,000 a year. So again, entry-level position, not bad. Now the last job on the list is something that I never really thought of, but it makes a lot of sense, and that is an online event planner. Usually when people plan events or use an event planner, they're dealing with somebody in person. But I think since the pandemic, this has really gained popularity to be an online event planner, because, you know, once events started coming back into play after the pandemic, people did want to go out and enjoy themselves, and they still needed people to help plan some events, and they didn't always have them in person. So basically, online event planner is exactly what I'm saying. They arrange and coordinate the details of a variety of events. Could be weddings, anniversaries, business conferences, corporate events. So there's a range of different events you can get into. You can also pick a niche, obviously, and that might be a little better for you so you can get more clients in those areas. But this is definitely more of a freelancing job than like a job. So some of the pros are that, like all of these, you don't need any formal education per se, and it could be pretty fun depending on the event that you are planning. I would assume planning weddings are probably really fun, probably stressful, but probably really fun. And just like any freelance business, you can pick and choose your projects, so you could pick and choose the different events that you do and don't want to work with. And then some of the cons is that, as I mentioned, it could be stressful, but I don't think there's any job I've named on this list that is 100% stress-free. But you kind of pick and choose your, I guess, level of tolerance of stress that you're willing to deal with. And then another con is that it may not necessarily be recession-proof, but I will say, if you think creatively, that there, just as much as you need in-person events, you do need online events. So business owners will start to, again, transition a lot of things online if they haven't done so already. And there is a planning process to planning events online as well. Like planning webinars is a process, and that kind of goes back into like digital marketing and stuff. But there is still a need for event coordination online, if that makes sense. Just think about it. And the salary that I found for an online event planner is around $47,000. Now the benefit of all the jobs that I mentioned is that you can typically start working as a freelancer and make your way into an actual full-time position if you really want to, or you can kind of start as a freelancer and build your way up into an actual business or an agency or anything like that. But either way, all these remote jobs give you opportunities to generate income from the comfort of your home. Now for the bonus tip. If you are going for a job working for a company, then what you need to do, especially these entry-level positions, is even if it says 1 to 2 years experience in the job descriptions or 2 to 3 years experience, some of these entry-level positions will say that they require experience, but you should apply to them anyway, even if you don't have experience. Because what you're doing is, prior to you applying, like I said before, you should have general knowledge and at least use some of the software that, you know, any of these jobs require, and just have, you know, basic understanding. But these jobs that may put up job descriptions that don't necessarily make sense, if you're applying for an entry-level position, it should usually say like 0 to 1 years of experience or 1 to 2 years max of experience. Some of them may say like 3 to 5 years experience. I'm like, this is not an entry-level job. But the key here is to apply anyway. Apply. Because what's the worst that they could say? No. They may not give you an interview. But if you apply, you're giving yourself the opportunity to put yourselves in front of them. Because some of these jobs, they're posted by the HR department, which may not necessarily know exactly what that position entails or what, you know, requirements are really necessary for that. So they might just put like whatever they think that a candidate should have, and it may not necessarily be congruent to what the position actually requires. So when in doubt, give yourself the opportunity and at least apply to jobs, even if they say, you know, that there's a certain number of years of experience that they need, as long as they are entry-level positions. I'm not telling you to go out and apply for like manager level positions if you've never done anything in that field, or, you know, if you're not there yet. What I'm saying is, don't be intimidated by these job descriptions that may not necessarily be accurate to what the job entails. Another bonus tip is to please be aware aware of scams. There are work from home scams. Like, a lot of people want work from home jobs, so there are naturally a lot of people that will, you know, try to target those people who are looking for work from home jobs. You know, be aware of any shady applications that you may see if an employer is asking for like your social security number before the interview process, or like, you know, if you're not being onboarded into a company, they shouldn't know like that really sensitive information. Of course, your resume will have the necessary information that they'll need, the basic information about you, but you shouldn't be giving out anything bank related or social security numbers or anything like that before they've even hired you. I mean, you should do the research before you even like apply, but once you know that they're a legitimate company and they offer you a position, do even more research, and just to confirm that this is a real position or a real company. You can look on LinkedIn and reach out to other people that are currently working for the company just to ensure that it's a legit company. But yeah, do not just give out sensitive information to every and anybody that you're applying to, because you don't really necessarily know unless it's like a super well-known company. And even at that point, you got to know the job boards that you're applying to. Like, I wouldn't just go out there and apply to anything on Craigslist or anything like that. So just be aware of scams. I haven't personally run into any because I'm kind of able to see, I guess, but I know people who have, so don't get scammed. And especially another thing to look out for is if they require you to pay for training. That is a big red flag, big red flag, because companies will train you once you get inside the company, once you start working for them. So in my opinion, the best work from home remote job is becoming a digital marketer, which is what I do, where you're working with paid advertising campaigns, you know, you're doing search engine optimization, doing things of that nature, working with content. I think it's the best job. I mean, it's just what's worked for me. I've always been interested in the marketing world, especially the online marketing world. Honestly, it gives you the best opportunity for, you know, financial and location freedom, mainly because you can definitely work for a company and make a lot of money in a company, or you can work for yourself as a freelancer and make a lot of money with, you know, with your clients doing digital marketing services, and you can be anywhere in the world and there should be no problem. So I love digital marketing. I think digital marketing is the best position to go for. And if you guys are looking for more information on how to do that, make sure you go ahead and check out this video. I'll link it up here and down below. And if you like this video, make sure you give it a like, share it with somebody who needs it, and go check out this video right now.